any means. I want to get you some city specifics as we give you virtual views of a lot of those northeastern cities. Of course, the heavy downpours coming down. I think, is this New York? Yeah, let's go with it. There it is, New York City. So you're out there in Central Park and you're the only one. You better have rain gear if you are out there, because heavy downpours coming down, as we've been saying, through the late day commute, a possibility through the evening, and we've got flood watches in response to that threat of heavy rain. Flood watches for parts of Jersey, for parts of Long Island, out into parts of Connecticut as well. So the New York Metro, you are very much in the mix with that flash flood threat. This afternoon, again, we've got the heavier downpours through the late day drive and evening hours. So I would say 5 to about 10 o'clock, that's when we'll see some of the heaviest rain move through. Beyond 10, it's becoming a bit more scattered, but it's still raining off and on throughout the overnight hours. Tomorrow's morning drive will likely feature some wet weather. I think by the time we get into lunchtime tomorrow and beyond, that's when we finally see things settle down a little bit. Locally, higher amounts of 2 to 4 inches possible, but 1 to 2 inches a good bet here across the New York City area. So this darker shade of green would be the plus side of 1. So I think a lot of areas will come in between 1 and 1.5 inches. Some areas 1.5 to 2 inches. And again, the possibility is there that we could see some areas even exceed that. So the flood watches, they're also in effect up towards the Boston area. So eastern Massachusetts, out on the Common, not a great day for you either. Like New York, right around 2 inches expected for the Boston area. However, locally higher amounts of 2, 3, 4 inches also a possibility, especially where you see some of those downpours set up. You get a slow moving downpour over the area, then you can see some big problems. We saw that, of course, overnight in a place like Atlanta. Here's your timing. Again, afternoon and evening hours bringing the steadier rain. For Boston, your heaviest stuff comes overnight. So you may wake up, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, it's raining to beat the band, and it's coming down on the rooftop. So you're like, gosh, we've upped the ante from white noise machine to now just loud rain. Tomorrow's morning commute will feature some rain. Afternoon time, we've got more rain showers. I think at least some drizzle or light rain for the late day drive. Finally, by later tomorrow, things begin to wind down a bit there in eastern Massachusetts. Portland, you're another spot where you'll see most of your rain advance in during the overnight, early morning hours tomorrow. So because you're a little bit behind Boston, it won't necessarily be just while you're sleeping. You can see some of that heavy rain for the morning drive time. By 5 o'clock, again, becoming to be a little bit more scattered. Still the clouds, some drizzle, but we see a little bit more in the way of breaks. But the morning drive in a place like Portland, not ideal.
No, it is definitely not.
Dallas, Texas. Very happening spots, some great restaurants, great bars, and some great weather right now. Temperatures approaching 70 degrees currently, about as comfortable as it gets. Yeah, a little hazy, and we've got some more adverse weather headed your way. So enjoy today. Things change as we move through the second half of the week with more severe weather possible into parts of Texas and the Mid-South Thursday, Friday, and into our Saturday. All right, so here's a look at our storm system. It's going to be bringing quite a bit of interesting weather. We've got windy and rain in the Midwest. We've got windy with some snow back through parts of the Rockies. And then we've got that severe thunderstorm threat across sections of the South Central, Southeast, and Mid-South part of the U.S. So once again, it's going to be places like Houston and Dallas into Louisiana and Arkansas that we'll be watching for the severe weather. So starting tomorrow, Dallas, you're on the eastern flank of this. We've got parts of Kansas and Oklahoma back through the middle part of Texas under the gun for severe weather. Friday, the area becomes a little bit more expansive, and now we've got some big metros in play. We still have at least the eastern side of Dallas. We get you over towards Shreveport, up closer to Little Rock. Now we've got Jackson, Mississippi, Mobile, southern Alabama, extreme western parts of the Florida Panhandle. So a lot of people in play for severe weather on Friday, a larger zone, too, with a little greater possibility of seeing the severe weather. Now, tomorrow night, we've got that dry line. That's one of those boundaries that's going to provide the lift, boundary between warm, moist air and dry, warm, dry air. So again, you've got a difference in air masses. Gulf of Mexico moisture, it's there. We've got that to work with, so no problem. As the energy actually increases overnight, we're going to see those storms develop late in the day and through the overnight, and that'll bring that severe threat for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. We've got the opportunity for large hail. We've got some cold air aloft with our mid-level disturbance, and all that means is cold air aloft will allow and help to promote the growth of some hailstones. So could be some large hail into parts of Texas, not necessarily unusual this time of year. Future radar, we start things off early tomorrow morning with some scattered showers moving along the Red River Valley. As we get through the later hours of tomorrow, now we're going to be watching that dry line for the development of some of those storms, and you see some action through parts of Kansas, Oklahoma. There we go in Texas during the very early morning hours of Friday. So again, don't be surprised if for some of you actually tomorrow's risk doesn't start until very, very late Thursday or even very, very early Friday. A place like Dallas could be morning commute time, at least the early half of that we see some of those storms. And then we get into Saturday, and now we're watching parts of Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and even up close to the South Carolina state line. Mike?
Okay, thank you, Alex.
Kind of just looks at you from the couch like, really? We're not going to walk. Then you take them for a walk and they hate it anyway. Or was that just me this morning? You know, she didn't want to go, or she wanted to go. We get out there and then she's like, well, it's raining. And I'm like, we talked about this, but alas, they don't understand you. Flood alerts are in effect through tomorrow. We've got the flood watches up and down the I-95 corridor from parts of Maine down through New Jersey. These areas looking at a good 1 to 3 inches of rain, especially here through southern New England. So parts of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, eastern Connecticut. That's where I think the 2 to 3+ inch totals will be mostly located. Outside of this zone, though, could see some locally higher amounts. Rain needed to flood in 1 hour. It's not going to take a lot. It has been soggy in these areas, and so we've got a little bit more bandwidth to work with in the areas that are going to see the highest rain, so that's some good news. But you see down towards the New York metro area, this area in red right here, less than a half an inch an hour. That's all it's going to take, and we certainly have that in the cards when you look at the future radar. Some of those yellows and oranges indicative of the heavier downpours, they show up a little later today in the New York City area. So we're going to be aware of the flash flood potential. Here's the forecast through the remainder of the day. Again, afternoon commute, not ideal. We've got gusty winds as well. Overnight rain really coming down in places like Boston and Portland. Portland, your morning commute tomorrow, going to be a little bit of a headache, so give yourself some extra time on the roads. By later tomorrow, we begin to see more of that rain move out. You can see what's waiting in the wings, though, for the upcoming weekend. So more rain on the way. Still to come again through tomorrow. I think a lot of 1 to 2+ inch amounts. Some areas could exceed that. And then we've got more wet weather on tap for the weekend. But Providence, in the short term, your heaviest rain coming late this evening into the early overnight. So again, right around when you're probably heading to bed, when that rain will come down the hardest. If you're like me, you love the sound of rain, you're going to get a good night's sleep tonight. Well, many people underestimate the power of water. Here's some important information to help keep you safe should floodwaters begin to rise. Plethora of now currently alive tumbleweeds that resupply the tumbleweed supply?
Sure, they just regrow.
Yeah, but like it seems like the lifespan's like
it's
a fruit
almost
fly.
like it's almost like a snake shedding its skin.
It is. It's kind of like that. So
yeah.
I just need to know more about
I think a lot of those are, I'm not for sure, but I think a lot of them is like the chaparral bushes that we have a lot of those go to all like out in California, the ones that burn low in the brush fires.
I guess it's just like a regional. I just kind of want to know more about tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
They're kind of a mystery to me. But how there are so many and do these homes actually get buried in tumbleweeds is pretty wild.
That's what happens when you have drought.
It is. All right. Coming at me with facts. He's like that afternoon drive for a lot of these areas. Not going to be ideal. I want to take you back to the current radar. There's a look at what's happening right now. Some of the heaviest rain right now on Highway 1, Interstate 95, right between D.C. and Baltimore. It is a hair-pulling late-day commute. You're like, I am going to sit in traffic for hours. You know, your normal commute, already a troublesome one here around the Beltway. Today, add some minutes, get a good podcast, have a great playlist ready to go. As we move through the late part of today, yeah, we've got the showers that will continue to fall, I think, for the late day drive. Honestly, with things getting, or things picking up, or even at 3 o'clock, I think at that point the damage is going to be done. We won't see our heaviest rain at 5, 6 o'clock, but we'll still have rain out there. Rain continues into the evening hours. New York under a flood watch, your heaviest rain arriving for the late day commute and evening. Now, timing may not be what you'd expect. It's not going to be afternoon and evening hours. It will be more overnight and into Friday morning that I think the best chance of storms is going to be located into Dallas. But here's the storm system. We've got gusty winds and some snow back to the west. We've got windy with rain and thunderstorms across the Midwest. The severe weather potential down around the Gulf Coast and Mid-South. So a lot of areas, even into Texas, will be watching for some stronger storms. Very spring-like system, what we'll be dealing with later this week. Now, tomorrow, risk does include Abilene to Dallas, down to Waco, up into parts of western Oklahoma and sections of south central Kansas. Here's the deal. These storms get going late in the day on Thursday, and I think they continue into the overnight. So for some of you, you won't see those storms until very early Friday morning. Friday, the threat moves east, and we've got a lot more areas in play for the stronger storms. Gulf moisture funneling northward. We've got our dry line. That's providing the lift, right? The boundary between the warm moist air and the warm dry air. So you've got the lift. Tomorrow night, we've got the the instability on the increase, and so that's going to allow those storms to start to fire. They'll continue during the overnight. What we got to watch for? Large hail, because we've got that mid-level disturbance, essentially a pocket of cold air aloft, that will allow for the development of hail and large hail. So unfortunately, could see some damaging hail out of these storms. Tomorrow morning, we've got some showers, thunderstorms rolling through parts of middle Texas. However, it's going to be late in the day, back towards that dry line again, that things get going into Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas. That continues overnight. So a place like Dallas, you may not see the thunderstorms really until early Friday morning, maybe early part of your morning commute, with the storms continuing east through the day. On Friday, again, we've got the thunderstorms and showers working through the southeast. Going to be a really soggy start to your Saturday for that I-85 corridor, Mike, from Atlanta to Greenville to Charlotte.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about
To Ocala, Florida, where we are debuting our newest Sky FX camera at a beautiful equestrian center, so we'll get some really great views of that as the season wears on. Central Florida, really known as the horse capital of the world. It's also home to Grandview Clydesdales, a premier farm breeding and training some of the biggest and most notorious Clydesdales, synonymous with those famous Super Bowl ads. These beautiful beasts, they are chomping at the bit to compete at the highest level. But the key to unlocking it all, that horsepower, it's the atmosphere. There's nothing worse than being cold and wet. And with temperatures in the 40s, it's raining, you still have the wind. It's really raw for anybody who has to do literally anything outside. I mean, so much as like going to get the mail. USPS folks, man, I feel for you today. UPS, you're walking mail up to somebody's front door. You're just drenched and uncomfortable. Virtual view of New York City. Steady, heavy rain continues through the later parts of today. So, again, we're in it to win it with a flood concern. We've got flood watches posted for parts of Long Island, Connecticut, upstate New York, a lot of Jersey, and even into parts of New England. We'll walk you into the Boston area shortly. But for New York, it is that late day drive time that's going to bring some of the steadiest and heaviest of rain. That continues through dinner time into the early and mid-evening hours. Now, I think overnight we see the rain become a bit more scattered in nature, so you get some breaks, but we still have rain. And as Dr. Knapp mentions, tomorrow's morning commute will feature more of those scattered showers. So we'll continue to watch for all that. A lot of 1 to 1.5 inch totals here in the New York City metro area. Locally higher amounts in the 2 to 4 inch range. Now, flood watches posted into the Boston metro area as well. I just sneezed and I had to scare it away. Okay, we're good. Rhode Island, you're under the flood watches. Parts of New Hampshire and Maine, you're under the flood watches. We've got a lot of 1 to 2 inch totals again coming to parts of eastern Massachusetts. 2 to 4 inch amounts coming your way in some localized spots. So not as widespread, but definitely a possibility. Boston, your timing looks like this. As we move through the evening, scattered showers, the steadiest, heaviest stuff, very late evening, overnight hours. By 2 o'clock in the morning, the rain is beating on the rooftop. If you're somebody who really sleeps well in the rainstorm, you're going to love this. If you're somebody who's a lighter sleeper, you may be up a little bit more than you anticipate. Morning through the early afternoon, we've got the showers that will continue. I think by later tomorrow, we finally see things wind down. Portland, we've got the rain showers arriving this afternoon and evening, but like Boston, some of the steadiest and heaviest stuff will be the early and mid-morning hours tomorrow. So your morning commute is going to feature some steadier, heavier rain in Portland. By the lunchtime hour, it's still raining, and I think we've got a good slug of rain at least through much of the afternoon. I think by the time we get to drive time, things start to back off, but a good chunk of your Thursday will be a soggy one in a place like Portland. Mike?
All right, Alex, thank you for that.
It's not necessarily welcome news. Dallas, Texas, you've got a pretty nice day out there today. We've seen sunshine. Yeah, it looks a little gloomy, but overall, it's a pretty quiet day with bright skies. Fort Worth looking absolutely beautiful. Both areas with temperatures in the low 70s. Things change into the second half of the week. We got a little bit more stormy weather coming into parts of the mid-south, south central, and southeast. So we've got this storm system. It's bringing a little bit of everything. You know, Mike told us about the snow and the gusty winds back into parts of the Rockies. Then we've got the wind and rain into parts of the Midwest. Some thunderstorms possible there, but severe weather would be more likely down across the south. So from parts of Texas and Oklahoma all the way through the southeast as we move into the end of the week and weekend. Tomorrow, our risk zone is for parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and a lot of Texas. Now, this doesn't get going until late, continues overnight. So for a lot of you, I don't actually think you're going to see the thunderstorms on Thursday. It might be Thursday night or even very early Friday morning. On Friday, now our risk begins to shift farther to the east. You can see a more expansive zone of severe weather potential. Parts of Florida and Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. So now we've got a lot more people in play for the severe weather to finish off your week. Our dry line tomorrow night, that's going to provide our lift. We've got that warm, moist air on the east side of the dry line, Gulf of Mexico moisture doing its thing. Energy on the increase, especially overnight, so it might not be until very late that those thunderstorms actually get started. And for a lot of you, you're not going to see the thunderstorms until probably during the sleeping hours. Energy on the increase overnight, so again, that allows the thunderstorms not just to develop, but to sustain themselves. And with cold air aloft, thanks to our disturbance, hail potential will be there, and some large hail possible as we move through parts of Texas into Friday morning. Could be dealing with hail for your morning commute. That would be a place like Dallas. So here's tomorrow morning. Yeah, we've got some scattered showers, storms working through the area. This is not the main event, though. The main event gets going into the later part of Thursday. Again, by Thursday, late afternoon, evening, we begin to see a little activity into parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. Then we look at parts of Texas into the early morning hours of Friday, looking at the Red River Valley down towards areas west of Dallas-Fort Worth. That'll be moving towards Dallas-Fort Worth just in time for your morning drive. Then on Saturday, so let's fast forward to Saturday. Now we start the day with the rain showers across sections of the southeast. That 85 corridor going to be an absolute mess. Luckily, it's not a work day for a lot of folks. I think that may help the traffic situation, but let's be real, the traffic situation still isn't going to be good. Anybody who has to travel on Saturday morning, it's going to be a tough one. Saturday, any severe weather likely focused across South Georgia, southern and eastern Alabama, and the north part of Florida. This would include a lot of the I-10 corridor from areas west of Destin all the way towards Jacksonville, Florida. So Destin, not Dentist. Saturday afternoon, we got the rain showers working off the coast. A little high elevation snow in the southern Appalachians, parts of eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, up through West Virginia, Mike.
All right, Alex, thank you for that.
On the show, we've got much more on the heavy rain pushing into the north. Let's be real. It's got to be at least, what, like 70 for cotton candy? I feel like it does. Flood watches, they're in effect because of all that heavy rain and the potential that we could see some water issues due to it. Toms River areas just to the south, all the way up to north of Portland, Maine. So a lot of those coastal areas along and to the east of I-95 watching for that threat of water problems. Last 7 days have been soggy in these areas. We've seen a lot of 1 to 2, even 2 to 3+ inch totals. So the heaviest of rain has been focused farther off to the south. Here's the deal. We've got problems, though, even areas that haven't seen as much rain in the last 7 days. When we look at the flash flood potential or the rainfall needed to flood in just 1 hour, it's low outside of New York City. So parts of central and North Jersey, it's going to take a ½ inch to an inch in 1 hour. That's very easily attainable to lead to flash flooding. Into the Allentown metro area, south of town, where we saw that heavy snow, like you get to like a Quakertown, gosh, it's going to take a ½ inch of rain to cause flooding. Southern tier of New York, ½ inch to an inch, all it's going to take. And again, this is very easily something we could see as we move through the later parts of today. Moderate to heavy downpours likely. And many people underestimate the power of water. Here's some important information to help keep you safe should floodwaters begin to rise. Weekend in view time. It is over the hump day, so we got to start thinking about the weekend. Of course, today, really rainy across the eastern part of the country. We've got the rain and thunderstorms through the middle of the nation tomorrow with a little wintry weather out west. Friday, kind of a mess of a day. From the Midwest to the south, we've got rain showers and thunderstorms. Out west, morning snow in Denver. Really rainy start to the weekend across the east on Saturday. Sunday, things calming down, but we do have some interior northeast snow, rain in the Pacific. Only one thing that can happen is we can get really badly injured. weird.
Yeah, there's
but
that.
But it'd be funny.
I also don't like what happens behind a horse.
No.
And so
then you mix it with snow, and it's just weird.
No, it's very not good.
No,
yeah.
no, and that would be what would totally happen to us. They would give us like the horses
100%.
that were just very well fed.
100%.
They'd be like, "Oh, you got old Stinky. He hasn't been feeling good. Sorry about that. Old Stinky."
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not go.
Rain overspreading the area, generally on the light to moderate side. We have seen some pockets of heavier downpours right now on the north side of Baltimore. You're getting some of that rain, so we're watching places like College Park into the 83 corridor. Not the easiest afternoon drive. Beltway going to be very slow later today. Again, scattered showers. They'll continue through the second half of this afternoon and into the evening hours. So you're not going to get a dry late day commute. You're not going to get a dry dinner time frame. Walking to the metro stations, it's going to be on the soggy side. So again, be aware of that. Late day commute, not going to be your fastest one ever. Flood watches in effect up towards the New York City metro area. So we've got Jersey, upstate New York, out towards Connecticut and Long Island, all under flood watches because of the heavy rain potential. And unfortunately for New York, it is late day drive through dinner time that brings some of the heaviest and steadiest rain. So again, one of those afternoons where the radio is going to be loud and hopefully there's something good playing because you'll be in the car a little bit longer than usual. We'll keep at least scattered rain showers around for tomorrow's morning drive. Side of the system, so still parts of the Rockies and Front Range looking at snow. Meanwhile, to the south, where we've got the warm, moist air, we will deal with severe weather up towards the Midwest. Expect wind, rain, and at least some garden variety thunderstorms. The real severe threat, though, stays focused into some of the more typical areas that we would see this time of year. Tomorrow night, so it's going to be late evening, really through the overnight that we see severe weather tomorrow. Possible from parts of south central Kansas through western Oklahoma and through the middle part of the state of Texas. This would include Dallas-Fort Worth. Friday, a lot of areas in play from parts of Texas and Oklahoma through Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, as well as western parts of the Florida Panhandle. So quite a lot of people in play Friday for severe weather. Now, tomorrow night, we've got our dry line setting up into Texas. That's going to provide lift. We've got moisture courtesy of the Gulf of Mexico on the eastern side of this dry line. Energy will be increasing during the overnight. So again, storms probably won't get going until very late on Thursday, and through the overnight is when we'll see a lot of the action. With that cold pocket aloft, we've got the possibility of some hail, large hail potential. So that would be one of the biggest severe threats that we'll be watching for. This would be Friday morning. So again, those storms continue overnight and during your morning commute on Friday, meaning that Friday morning, you could be headed to work and dealing with hail. Here's tomorrow morning. We've got some scattered showers, thunderstorms working through sections of Texas, but the real strong, severe potential doesn't arrive until late day. So we start up in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma, but watch as Texas begins to get a bit more active late Thursday, overnight, and then Friday morning, again, just in time for the early part of the morning drive, Mike. Now we're looking at places like Fort Worth and Dallas seeing the storms. Those storms continue during the day on Friday and Saturday to move east. So Friday, parts of the Mid-South, we'll see scattered showers, thunderstorms, some of which will be severe. Friday night into early Saturday, it's absolutely pouring for parts of the southeast.
It is. So let's walk you through
the storms along the East Coast. You probably don't have sugar kelp or nuns on your mind. Well, speak for yourself. But the Sisters of St. Joseph on Long Island are part of a unique partnership with the Shinnecock Tribal Nation, using kelp to help clean New York's polluted waterways. Take a look. Stories like this, be sure to tune in to Pattern. It's on weekdays at noon Eastern right here on the Weather Channel.
All right, Alex, thank you for that.
It's going to be an umbrella graveyard. Yep. We look at a virtual view of New York City, one of those spots, on like a good rainy, windy day. Every garbage bin overflowing with the broken umbrellas. Steady, heavy rain likely for your late day drive all the way through the evening. So again, patio dining, it's a no-go unless it's like covered and it's sealed off. So you're not going to want to be out there. Flood watch is in effect for the metro area. We move through the later hours of today, and that's when we're in some of the steadiest and heaviest rain. Again, just in time for that late day drive. North Jersey, upstate New York, Connecticut getting the heavier rain, and that'll continue through 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Even into the late evening, I anticipate some still steady, heavier downpours out there. Overnight, things become a little bit more scattered, but we still will have pockets of rain into tomorrow's morning drive. It's not going to be anything like today's, but still some low clouds, some fog, some drizzle or light rain. It's not going to be an easy drive into work tomorrow. 1 to 1.5 inches, I would say, for most areas around New York City. Now, there will be some spots that exceed 2, possibly even 3 inches. So you get a few of those heavy downpours, and you can see that rain really pile up quickly. Flood watch is in effect up towards the Boston area as well. Sections of Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire also under these. Boston, I think you're going to be right around 2 inches of rain, with, again, some areas exceeding 2.5, 3, even up to 4 inches of rain. And that's why we've got those flood watches. Flash flood concerns also present. Now, Boston, you're moving through the later part of today. More in the way of scattered showers. I think late evening and overnight is when the real meat and potatoes of this system starts to move in. Here's 2 o'clock in the morning with moderate to heavy rain across the board. So everybody's got the rain thumping on the rooftop. Tomorrow's morning drive, at least light to moderate rain, and I think pretty steady across the area. We'll keep rain showers around through tomorrow afternoon. I think your late day drive will also see some rain showers. So the windshield wipers, they're going to be going for a few days here. Late tonight, or rather late tomorrow night, we see things calm down for a minute, as Dr. Nab points out, another system coming in for the upcoming weekend. Portland, Maine, your timing looks like this. Afternoon, evening, we've got at least light rain showers. The heaviest stuff, like Boston, moves in overnight, really early morning hours Thursday. So I do think for Portland, some of the steadiest, heaviest rain may still be around for the morning drive tomorrow. By the afternoon, we've got scattered rain, at times pockets of heavier downpours. By tomorrow evening, again, some dry time, but again, it's briefly. Portland, you're going to see the rain showers come back as we move into the end of the weekend. Mike?
All right, Alex, thanks for that.
A little bit. Dallas, you're looking good today. I know the camera looks kind of murky. We've been like, why does it look like that? It's prettier out there. Partly cloudy skies. We've got temperatures around 72. You're heading to some of those cool neighborhoods for your afternoon happy hour plans. A lot of great spots there in Dallas. Now, later in the week, into the weekend, that's when we bring severe weather back into parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, sections of the south central and southeastern U.S. It's a storm system that brings us a little bit of everything. We've got windy conditions, some snow back through the Front Range and the Rockies. In the Midwest, we've got rain, we've got wind, we've got some thunderstorms. Better chance, though, of severe weather tomorrow for the Southern Plains, on Friday for the Mid-South and Southeast, and then we'll see a really rainy start to the weekend across some of our southeastern states, the Carolinas, Georgia. Saturday morning looks absolutely yuck. Good morning to stay in bed, right? And just kind of make pancakes or something. All right, my clicker doesn't want to work, so let's talk more about pancakes. No, I'm just kidding. We have the chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. My clicker really isn't working, but we don't have to talk more about pancakes. We can talk about the thunderstorms tomorrow. It's going to be a late night threat. So these storms really don't get going until late evening into the overnight. So don't be surprised if for a lot of these areas, Kansas, Oklahoma, especially Texas, you go to bed on Thursday and you're like, oh, we didn't get the storms. They may come very well while you're sleeping. Friday, now we've got a more expansive zone, and it's going to be through the day that we watch those thunderstorms. Alexandria and Jackson, Mobile and Destin, as far north as Fort Smith, Arkansas. So, again, a lot of the mid-south and southeast will be in play on Friday. Tomorrow night, it's a dry line that's going to help to provide some lift. We've got warm, moist air out of the Gulf of Mexico. We've got an upper disturbance that has some cold air. That will promote some hail development. Energy, it's going to be on the increase overnight. So that's why I say don't be surprised if the storms don't get going until after you've already gone to bed. I don't want you to think this is like, you know, a 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon threat time. This is going to be late and then really all the way into Friday morning. I think the storms work towards Dallas and Fort Worth for your Friday morning commute. Increasing the chance for large hail, that disturbance. I mentioned that cold pocket aloft. Well, that allows some hail to really expand in size and develop more significantly. So we could be looking at hail 1, 1.5, 2+ inches in diameter. Tomorrow morning, we are going to start off with some showers. This is not the main action. It's going to be, again, late day, really into the overnight that things really get going. So we start in Oklahoma and Kansas later tomorrow evening, but look at Texas. You don't see things really start until midnight or after, moving towards Dallas and Fort Worth just in time, Mike, for the morning commute on Friday.
All right, now let's talk about the north side of that.
Up on Weather Underground, we've got more on the heavy rain pushing into the north. Good time, boogie boards everywhere, beach towels galore. We're getting ready for beach weather, right? It's not it. Today is the opposite of beach weather. It is inside. It is 3 sizes too large sweatpants. It is pizza delivery weather if I've ever seen. By the way, if you do that, tip your driver well because they actually have to go out in it to bring you that pizza. Flood watches, they're posted from parts of Maine all the way down to sections of New Jersey. So we've got a lot of real estate under these flood watches. We've seen a lot of rain over the last 7 days. When we look at the rainfall footprint, some of the heaviest amounts through parts of southern New England, back into Long Island, and parts of Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania. Those areas have seen 2 to 3+ inches of rain just within a week. So the flash flood guidance, it's not overwhelming. We are not going to need much rain in just 1 hour to lead to flooding. The brighter colors, the oranges and the reds, that's a ½ inch to 1 inch of rain in 1 hour. That would cause flooding. It's not hard to get that. So obviously when you get into like the 3-4 inches an hour rainfall rates, that's a little harder to achieve. But around New York, especially into parts of Jersey, around the Allentown area, the Lehigh Valley, up towards Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and the southern tier of New York, these are all areas that are really primed, really vulnerable to some flash flooding issues, especially given the afternoon forecast. I mean, again, ½ inch to 1 inch in an hour with this kind of radar picture or future radar picture is not going to be hard to achieve. So I do think we will see some flash flood warnings issued later today. By tomorrow, mid to late morning, it's still raining on the 95 corridor up into New England. So don't think you're going to escape with a dry morning commute on Thursday. I think even for like a Portland, you could see Thursday afternoon rain showers. Same for parts of the Cape. We get a brief break, but you can see lurking in the wings our next system. Through tomorrow, we've got another 1 to 2+ inches headed our way from New York up into Maine. Some of these areas could exceed 2, even 3 inches though. So locally higher amounts of 2 to 4 inches, actually 2 to 5 inches possible. So again, the flash flood and flood threat is certainly present. And many people do underestimate the power of water. Want to give you some important information to help keep you safe should floodwaters begin to rise. You're going to get so many splinters.
I wonder what happens when you're, like you're one of the city workers. You get the call, "Hey, going to need you in this neighborhood because we got to do some cleanup. We got tumbleweed everywhere."
Yeah. You're sitting
Bring
there.
the big equipment.
You're just eating your dinner, and you're like, "Honey, tumbleweeds again. I got to go. See you in a couple days."
It's an emergency.
There's a tumbleweed emergency,
Right.
and there's only one person who can handle it, and it's me and my big machinery.
That's right.
I kind of want to be the tumbleweed girl.
Like maybe you're making some OT too.
Yeah, I would like to think so. You're
Yeah.
like, yikes. It's in the mid-50s right now in D.C. Not a whole lot better. You saw clouds. We don't have the real fog issues, but we got low cloud cover. So visibility, it's not perfect. Now, we have seen some of the rain work out. At this point, it's kind of spotty drizzle, more light rain to moderate rain on tap for the afternoon. So we're not done. You can see late day drive time, light rain across the board. It's not going to be as heavy, I think, up towards New York, but we still have rain. And you know what rain does to something like the Beltway on any day? That day it could be a beautiful, partly cloudy, very little sun glare, dry day, and it's still a trafficy spot, right? So now you add rain to the mix, and it's just going to take you longer. Not anybody doing outdoor dining tonight. It's definitely one of those indoor days, one of those days where you go like, "Hey guys, I know we were supposed to like go out. Do you want to like rain check it truly? And we'll just go out on a day when we've got a little more energy." It's kind of one of those days where you just go home, put on TV, call it a night. Moving into the late evening, overnight hours, things again become a bit more scattered. New York area, you've got heavy rain on the way through the rest of today. Flood watch is posted. There's a look at the future radar. So afternoon drive time, wet with pockets of heavy downpours. We'll keep that going into the mid, even late evening. So unfortunately, some of the worst of the weather coming during those prime driving and activity hours. Overnight, we'll see scattered rain. That continues into early tomorrow morning. Morning commute as well, at least scattered light rain. Now for a place like Boston, your heaviest rain coming overnight because then they get tangles.
Well, that would make sense.
It would make sense. I feel like I'm going to get to the bottom of this. That equestrian center, they got the horses out, but if it's windy like that, you can't have everybody's hair getting tangled. Late week, we've got quite a bit of weather headed our way, and a lot of that does feature wind as well, as Mike mentioned. Windy with snow in the Rockies and the Front Range. Windy with rain and thunderstorms in the Midwest, South Central, Mid-South, Southeast. Rain and thunderstorms, some of which will be severe. So starting tomorrow late into Friday, continuing into our Saturday as well. So tomorrow night, it's Kansas Kansas, Oklahoma, and especially Texas. On Friday, now we've got a big area of severe weather from Texas and Oklahoma all the way over towards the Florida Panhandle, southwestern sections and south central sections of Alabama. So again, a larger zone and a lot of people living in this zone. Tomorrow night, things get started late. We've got a dry line that's going to give us the lift. Our Gulf of Mexico moisture helping to provide that aspect of storm development. Then we've got energy on the increase, but it won't happen until late day. So again, I don't want you to be surprised if you go to bed at like 10 o'clock and you're like, she said there were going to be storms. There haven't been any storms. They're not going to get started really until a lot of you have gone to bed. We're talking overnight, even early Thursday or early Friday morning as those storms work closer to, say, Dallas, Fort Worth, just in time for the morning drive. Then we've got a mid-level disturbance. So what this is going to do is offer up some cold air aloft. That will help with hail development. So I think we'll be looking at the potential for some large hail out of tomorrow's storms. 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Yeah, we've got showers and thunderstorms out there. This is not the main event. The main event gets going into parts of Oklahoma and Kansas late day, but during the overnight across parts of Texas. So again, Dallas, Waco, morning drive. Those storms working towards the Texarkana and Shreveport areas by mid to late morning, and we'll watch showers and thunderstorms continue east during the day on Friday. By Friday afternoon, yeah, parts of Mississippi and Alabama and Tennessee getting in on the storms. Friday night into Saturday, Mike, an absolute, we'll call it a super soaker for parts of the southeast. It's going to be pouring out there Saturday morning.
I feel like we've done that many times.
Well, a record 28 separate weather and climate disaster events hit the U.S. last year, costing nearly $93 billion in damage. With a little bit of planning, there are ways to help erase the financial burden so you can recover quicker. Time now to weatherproof your wallet, sponsored by AARP.